This is the Last Coffee House, and the Daily Wire put out an article entitled SNL Writer Offers Blowjobs to Anyone Who Will Punch the MAGA Kid in the Face. Sarah Beatty? I don't watch SNL anymore, so I'm not sure. She tweeted, it's on screen now, "I will blow whoever manages to punch that MAGA kid in the face." This is related to, of course, was it Covington Catholic kids who allegedly accosted a Native American man? And the media went just insane with this as another drip in the narrative of evil white supremacy vitiating all of our institutions. So anyway, doing her part, she decided to offer, and she says explicitly, "I will blow whoever manages to punch that MAGA kid in the face." Now, when it comes to terms in a contract, they do have to be clear. So within the colloquial understanding of what that word means, I mean, you could argue if you're trying to enforce the contract that was clear. Now, there is a clear offer, so technically, as long as it can be performed within a year, then you don't have to worry about a statute of frauds issues with a written contract, but it's written, it's on there, so if somebody accepted it, there'd be a clear offer and acceptance, clear meeting of the minds. Somebody tweeted back that I'm going to accept this contract. One of the issues would be that it suborns, there are two sides of illegality in this one, which illegal contracts, I mean, it's reasonable, like the value on either side, however good she is or however good the punch might be, the value doesn't seem disproportionate, so that would work. But you can't base a contract on illegality. You can't enforce a contract that was based on an illegality, and prostitution, in most cases, is illegal. I'm assuming that like in New York, it's likely going to be. And assault is generally illegal, or battery, technically. So the exchange of sexual act for battery would generally not be an enforceable contract. The political question, however, of course, this is the big issue with this whole thing, is that the left, I'm so sick of using these terms, but much of the left just hopped right on this bandwagon and said that this was just another example of evil white supremacy. When in fact, I mean, there was virtually nothing here to begin with, even if, I mean, the kid had a MAGA hat on, which, oh my gosh, did you see this? Alyssa Milano, she tweeted that the MAGA hat is the new white hood. I mean, are you kidding? This is so insane. And I think this is a new phenomenon, and it could be a phenomenon that's effective or useful in different contexts, something that people are trying to see the greater implications of things that happen and see what they could potentially mean in a broader circle or wider berth than we generally would give them, So that could be a potentially positive phenomenon, but this kind of thing where you just unilaterally, subjectively determine that one thing means something else. It's like historically when all the Trump stuff was first beginning, it was, if you were wearing a MAGA hat, it was a hate symbol automatically, just, it doesn't matter what you thought about it, what you thought about Trump, what you thought about politics, what your positions were, or anything like that. It's a hate symbol. Done. Now, it's like, no, it actually means it's like the worst. It's equated to the worst symbol in like American history that you can possibly think of. And you just don't get to unilaterally make these things. Of course, we're living in the attention economy. That's what it's about. How can I get attention? Which is having horrible effects on news in general and on people also in general. So it makes sense that this sort of a thing is gonna pop up, but it's so insane. But I cannot believe that adult human beings have this kind of a conversation where they can say that something like that, especially this particular kid, could be considered a white hood. It's the new white hood. Oh my God. So this contract, I'm just trying to this contract is not going to be enforceable. And you can see by the picture, I mean, I haven't seen her other than this picture. And oh my God, I get sick of these stupid pictures that are like, oh my gosh, I'm just laying in bed and this is how I woke up. I woke up like this. This is how I woke up, and look how dramatically my slip is falling to the side and you just can't see outside of the picture. But maybe if you saw the whole picture, oh my gosh, I get so sick of these kinds of pictures. Is that a pun, nacho, Sarah? Nacho? Or does she just like nachos? I'm not sure. Okay, but the kid released a statement. He said, "At no time did I hear any student chant anything other than the school spirit chants." And I watched a good chunk of the video. I know it's like 2 hours. I didn't watch the whole thing. But it did seem like they were sticking. I was surprised at how much wherewithal these kids had, especially in this context. And obviously he was targeted because he had a MAGA hat. That's the whole deal. I did not witness or hear any students chant "build that wall" or anything hateful or racist at any time. Assertions to the contrary are simply false. Our chants were loud because we wanted to drown out the hateful comments that were being shouted at us by the protesters. And there were some terrible things being shouted by the protesters. I definitely heard that. But I mean, this is like, even if they had shouted all sorts of horrible things, this is not even a news story. This isn't significant. This is some students being rowdy at a conservative school. It's like, are you serious? This is worth talking about? After a few minutes of chanting, the Native American protesters, who I hadn't previously noticed, approached our group. The Native American protesters had drums and were accompanied by at least one person with a camera. So he talks about the protester comes up and gets in his face, starts banging the drum in his face. The actual guy, what was his name? But the actual guy, the Native American, he was a veteran of the Vietnam War, I think, and so he got up in the kid's face, but when he went and talked about it later, he said that he was trying to get through, to get to the other side or something like that, and the kid stood in his way, and that there were a whole bunch of racist things being shouted from the kids, the MAGA kids. This is not supported at all by the video. In the video, he walked into the group to make himself surrounded. He had every opportunity to leave anytime that he wanted to. He was the one that was being a dick. The kid stood there, and you could tell, he's flinching a little bit at the drum, and he's not saying anything and not reacting in any way. He smirked very subtly at some point, and that was the biggest reaction that he had. He locked eyes with me and approached me. I just jumped down, sorry. Coming within inches of my face, he played his drum the entire time. He was in my face. I never interacted with this protester. I did not speak to him. I did not make any hand gestures or other aggressive moves. I believe that by remaining motionless and calm, I was helping to diffuse the situation. I said a silent prayer that the situation would not get out of hand. That is, sorry. Not to emasculate your kid, but that's a very sweet thing to do. I'm not religious at all. I think it's all nonsense, but I'm definitely feeling more, I don't know, I'm just appreciating religiosity and religious people, especially Christians, like the ones I grew up with and the ones I've gotten to know nowadays. And this is another sentiment that's just, whatever you have to say about Catholicism, and there's lots to say, it's ridiculous and causes a whole bunch of horrible things to happen in the world. When kids act like this, when they don't want to respond, and they're just saying that, no, I just had a silent prayer that it wouldn't get out of hand, and I'm just going to stand here and accept this. It's a nice sentiment for whatever metaphysically stupid reasons the kid does it, it's a nice sentiment. So then when all this came out that the kids didn't do anything within the broader context, they were just standing there doing their school chant, and that was it. She deleted that tweet. She tweeted again, "Oh yes, the kid who was marching against women's reproductive rights while wearing a hat promoting an evil, homophobic, racist, misogynistic sociopath was totally misrepresented." All these words that don't mean anything anymore. Just anything. Evil, okay, what does that mean in this context? Homophobic, what are the policies that have been enacted that have been homophobic? Racist, just really, based on what? Misogynistic, based on what? Sociopath, based on what? I mean, these words used to mean something very specific, and in my line of work, they certainly do mean something very specific, and it's something that you have to prove, and no judge. I mean, I've had cases where it was like, there's all sorts of weird stuff going on here, and I'm trying to prove what's going on in their brain about these kinds of issues, and it's very difficult, even with all the information at your beck and call, because you have the right, subpoena and get to do depositions and all sorts of stuff. And it's very difficult to prove these things, and yet they just slather it all on like nothing and just say, oh yes, I just know that he's all of these things. I can't believe that this is where we are. She's just responding in a way that's defensive and uses all the buzzwords to try to get out of it. So it wasn't the first time. In 2016, Madonna offered some blowjobs. I don't know how many are going to take that at this point, if they'd vote for Hillary Clinton. And that was she wasn't suborning an illegal act. She was buying votes. I don't know if you can do that. Can you pay people? Whether you can do that or not, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. But it was 20 years after journalist Nina Burleigh made the same offer to Bill Clinton for the sake of keeping abortion legal. Okay, well, that's that. So, just to sum up this Covington Catholic thing, I mean, yes, these kids believe a bunch of nonsense, and I'm sure they do all sorts of wrong things and have opinions about things that are either wrong or at least unsavory or whatever else. In this particular case, this kid did nothing wrong, and it's amazing how low the bar is going when it comes to outrage and getting mobs on people. It's just, I can't believe where we are. I cannot believe it. The media, the fourth estate, the people who are supposed to have the people's backs, we're supposed to really be there and be the most trustworthy people on the planet. It's insane now. They're horrible, just agenda-riddled partisan hacks. We'll say that. So there you go. That's that. We'll see what comes of the future. But that's the end of that one. So thanks. This is the Last Coffee House. Thanks. Bye.